Right, this is another follow-up vid for converting Trix 23430 set from its traditional interior lighting of just table lamps, and it was prepped for interior lighting using the Trix interior lighting strips, but I'm going for the ESU lighting strips, which look like that. They come in packets like that, so I'm going to be putting them in this coach, and they actually work out cheaper to buy the ESU lighting strips with the built-in decoders and all the other features that they've got. They work out cheaper than actually installing the add-on sets to get the interior lighting. So to start off with, what you got to do is take off the steps at each end so you don't damage them. So that's the first thing to do. Next thing to do, before you take off the body, you can take off corridor connectors to make it easier to get the body off. And where it comes apart on just above that sign there. There's where the black meets the first line of gold. That's where it comes apart along there. It's about 4mm up from the bottom of the base of the coach. Yeah, so if you get the end slightly opened up slightly at that end, then you can run your glue stick down, being very careful. That's gone back in again, that's no problem though, there's no damage. If you use a screwdriver, you just end up completely damaging it without a shadow of a doubt, because they're so precisely fitted together, you see. So remove that, then you can put another one in there like that. There you go. When you hear that click, you know you broke the seal. There you go. Just got a bit, there we go, pull the clips off because it is a flexible body. That's one side declipped. Same on the other side. Just pull that slightly, ever so slightly, and then you can get that in, pull that along. There we go. That's all you do. Because there's flex on the body, you can do that. Then it just comes off like that. So yeah, on this particular coach we've got the ESU lighting strip. It's going to go along the top. I'm going to disable the electro couplings, take these off, replace them with Fleischmann. So what I'm going to do next is, we've got negative and positive pickups for the that's for the lighting, for the coach lighting, which are added on Trix lighting units via the plug there, which I'm not going to use. And then we've got the negative pole coming up through the couplings, and that feeds the lamps, and then we've got that picks up the positive from the bogies from the internal circuit board. So obviously the lighting, the table lamps can be controlled via the baggage coach originally, and the Trix lighting units would just be on constantly, couldn't turn them off. So that's all going to change. So yeah, so now I'm going to take off some little clips along one, I think there's about 1, 2, there's 3 on either side to get this top board off, so you can manipulate them very carefully like that. Same on either side. There we go. Just being very careful here. If they're not going to come off very well, then just get a small screwdriver and pull back the lug slightly. You've got to try and do that. Could do it from that side actually. So it's tricky to do without causing damage. There we go. Then that board will separate, or the top part will come off, which are the table lamps. So we've now got that separated. So we've got the body off, coach body's off, that's off. Next is the circuit board, which I'm going to disable. I'm going to cut the wire. Just bear with me a minute, let's get that weight out of the way for now. So I'm going to take, well, tell you what, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take out the couplings. Just take out the NEM coupling pocket. There we go, let's take that out. It looks like that. The metal insert. So next thing to do is I'm just going to take out, spring loaded, you can take the spring off if you want, but I'm just going to manipulate that spring out carefully. There we go, it just comes out, you just got to be careful, and that's how it is. Take the spring out, so spring and coupling. Took the spring and coupling out because they can be useful maybe in other models, or you could resell them because they are sought after items then, because they're quite expensive to buy. Then we just put the coupling back, bend that through, there we go. Bend that through like that. Let's get that positioned. That's it, and then all it is then is a case of putting back a Fleischmann coupling in that end, or whatever coupling you want, but I'm putting Fleischmann Profi couplings back in, which are 386515. So on this particular coach, I'm going to disable the circuit board because I don't want, isolate the circuit board so I can power that separately on a separate function on the ESU lighting strip. So what I need to do is unsolder the wire here, and then I've got my two connections, got my two wires coming up here for the decoder, and there's a wire going from one end to the other. Right, so what I've done now, desolder the board where I said for the table lamps. That's got a wire coming up from the right hand bogie underneath around the weight, comes up through the circuit board, extended the wires. The circuit board can now go back in. Let's position it in the right place. Hopefully that'll just got to make sure nothing gets snagged when you're putting the circuit board back. That looks alright. Let's have another. There we go, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's good. You just got to make sure you take ultra care not to knock these details here. I'm not sure whether these are stuck on or pulled or clipped on or what, these ladder type things. But anyway, that is what to do. So I've got the wires for the decoders, for the ESU decoder coming up here. So to wire up the table lamps to the ESU decoder, I've wired it treating the table lamps as standard bulbs, and I've wired it up to UB and F1. You can see there, UB and F1, treating it as a normal incandescent bulb. Therefore it'll fire out higher voltage through there, and then obviously the resistors that are on the board, on this particular board, will then kick in, and the bridge rectifiers, and that'll work correctly. If you wire them up to the LED part of the ESU lighting strip, the power will drop down because it'll be going through two sets of resistors that are on the ESU lighting board and that are on the table lighting board. Right, so I've got it all loosely put back just to test the main board really. So on the top surface of the board, where the decoder wires have come up and all the other two wires for the table lamps, you've got to desolder one connection and solder up a wire here, which is indicated by positive, and then that'll go to the function 1 output, which is the UB. That'll go to the UB. Connector, and then you've got F1, that is the blue wire, and that goes to the underside, sorry about this mess here, the underside of the circuit board where it says positive there. I've just got different coloured cables, but yeah, so it's one on that side, or of course you could put it on this side, but you've got to tack it to the end as much as possible here so the coupling system doesn't snag it. Right, so now we're all set to go back. So that's the original wire which came up from one end of the bogie, which is supplying the internal lights negative, say, and then the other cable came up positive from the other end of the bogie. So the insulated wheels are the other way around at each end of the coach. That was then going to supply the feed for this plug here for the Trix lighting, where you plug in the Trix lighting, but we bypassed all that. We'll cut off there, extended the wires, so we've got these two wires go to the decoder inputs, which are the brown wires on the decoder. It's a brown and black, and then obviously the orange and blue, which I've just shown, that's the table lamp feed function 1. That's what we do there. Right, so I've positioned the circuit board, making sure the wire's not snagged from the other end. There are the two cables coming up for the decoder, and there are the other two cables coming up for function 1 table lights. And then you've got to make sure the coupling is not snagged in any way, not spring-loaded sliding coupling. You just got to test that, and if that's working fine, which it is, I can then put on the seating area, but not clipping it in place until you test it. You've got to test it obviously first, make sure it's right, which I'll do next. Right, so now I've got the lights, test the lights out. They're all working, and the table lamps are working. Right, so I put everything back. You just got to make sure when you're feeding the wires through here, if you're doing this, it feeds through on one side and pops up through the floor. Otherwise, if you try and bring them up central, the body won't go back onto the chassis. You've got to make sure that's nice and flush going along. So everything's all put back and it's tested, the lights are working. All I've got to do now is trim the lights to the correct length, add a capacitor or power backup, which I'm going to add now. Right, so the only other thing I've done now is added the power pack, negative on the negative terminal, positive on the positive, just a small extended cable, because I want to hide that away in this compartment here. Yeah, of course, when you install a power pack, you've got to give it time to charge up. You've got to leave the power on. It won't work straight away once the power's built up in there. And then you disconnect the lighting. You can see we've still got connection. We've still got a feed of lights, even though I take the power off. Once it's all charged up, it'll be fine. Of course, when we come to cut the lights, you've got to cut them every so often. There's a slot where you can, it's a cut mark, so obviously I'm going to have to cut these. So there's a marker there, and you just get a durable set of scissors, preferably electrical scissors, which I'm using now. Cut right across that mark. That's it. You have a couple of spare lights here which you might be able to use somewhere else. So that's cut to length, and double check again to make sure just make sure everything's working again before you do anything. Yeah, that's all good. And that's all ready to go back now. I've cut the board, install the energy supply. Just need to either cut these tail lights off or wrap them around, and then where the wires are going will be in this compartment here. Sorry, in this compartment here, all the wires are going in there, so I'm going to put 2 white pieces of paper on the inside there to simulate a blind like in that window. Right, so that's all in place now. Just secured it in place with some black tack, electrical type sort of insulation glue. You get it on strips like this, and cut off small bits and place it on the tops, you know, around the suitable places on the coaches to secure the lighting strip in place. Right, so there we go, it's all ready to go back. I've just placed photographic paper on the inside of these windows to blank out the wiring. Secured in place with Copydex, or you could use something similar. It doesn't melt plastics and it peels off, that easy to use. So all I've got to do now is install a coach body and it's done. Right, ready to put a coach body on. I'm using these particular gloves, they're called Diamond Grip, and they've got little sort of nodules on them all around. So if you don't want to get fingerprints or grime on your coach bodies, especially high quality ones, sort of tend to use these. The box looks like this. The box looks like that. Nitrile gloves, single use, but I use them over and over. That's the sort of make I use, and they're ideal for doing this sort of thing. Just clip it in place, make sure that's in right. And just, it is a tricky one to get in this, you've got to line it up perfect, otherwise it isn't going to go in. You line one end up, line the other. It's just a case of careful manipulation of the body to get it in nicely. That's it. Still not in right, that on that side. Goes in a very, very, very precise alignment. There we go. Of course, these are extremely delicate coaches with the amount of detail that's on there.